The Israelis are furious that they've hired Trump loyalist Brad Parscale, and he hasn't been able to deliver the hasbara that they're looking for. Now, he's given them a ton of propaganda, and we'll show you the propaganda they have purchased inside this country. But before we give you all the facts that show you how much the Israelis are trying to manipulate Americans into supporting Israel and against our own interests, I want to bring in Adam Mockler here again. Adam, so I'm told by corporate media that poor little Israel has no influence in this country at all, and that if you actually quote facts about it, you're an anti-Semite. Now you read the story from Time magazine. Are facts anti-Semitic?
No, the reality is the AIPAC lobby and the Israel First lobby is perhaps the most insidious force in politics right now. You can see the distortion of our politicians' incentives, and you can see them in real time take increasingly less popular positions due to the way money distorts those incentives. Do you remember that clip, Cenk, of Donald Trump? I think he was in Israel, and he's talking about Miriam Adelson, who shelled out over $100 million. And he's joking around, but he's not really joking. And he's like, I asked Miriam behind the scenes if she's more loyal to Israel or the United States, and she wouldn't answer, which probably means Israel. Donald Trump literally gave away the game right there. He gave away the game. Since getting into office, he has then fast-tracked a lot more aid to Israel. He has fast-tracked weapons packages and expedited weapons for Israel to continue their genocide in Gaza and continue their settlements in the West Bank. So when Donald Trump is out there admitting that he is being influenced by his largest donors, you don't have to guess. Now, I will say, as a young Gen Zer, there are people in my generation who can go super, super off the rails in both directions, either be super pro-Israel, or I have had conversations with people where they're anti-Semitic, but just calling out the money that's distorting our politics, not at all anti-Semitic, not at all.
Yeah, not 1%. That's a weaponization, which is disgusting, by the way. If you're on the left, you should never weaponize racism, bigotry, or anti-Semitism, because that actually hurts the cause of fighting those serious, insidious forces. So I'll add to what Adam said and then move to the piece, because it's got amazing facts about how they're doing propaganda inside our own country. Donald Trump also said on tape that he moved our embassy in Israel because the Adelsons gave him so much money. Both Sheldon and Miriam. It's amazing what he admits on tape. He also released Jonathan Pollard back to Israel because the Adelsons asked him to. In fact, the Adelsons then flew Jonathan Pollard, the traitor that stole all of our intelligence and gave it to Israel. They flew him back on their private jet and gave him a party when he arrived in Israel. So obviously they like Israel, love Israel more than they love America. In fact, I don't know that they like America at all. I think that the Adelsons were here to basically manipulate this country and to bribe our politicians to help their beloved Israel. And if you're unclear about that, Miriam Adelson said on tape that she would give Donald Trump $250 million to trash our Constitution and run for a third term so she can get even more for Israel. So this is open bribery, open propaganda. So now we go to Time magazine, and I criticize corporate media all the time, but I love giving credit where credit is due. I criticize them because they earned it. In this case, Time magazine with a terrific story about actual facts. So they explained last September, the global ad agency Havas hired Parscale's firm, Clock Tower X, to conduct a digital campaign on behalf of the state of Israel, according to Foreign Agents Registration Act, FARA, filings reviewed by Time. So now, credit to Parscale there because he actually registered as a foreign agent. So most of the people who are Israeli assets in this country do not register. They pretend to be Americans and working for American interests when they're doing no such thing. But in his case, at least he was clear enough that he's like, yes, I'm going to get millions of dollars from Israel. I'm going to try to manipulate the American people on behalf of that foreign country. So I am a foreign agent. So thank you for the honesty, we appreciate it. So they created over 100 pieces of content every month, and most of it was aimed at Gen Z. So Time explains Parscale vowed the effort to produce at least 50 million digital impressions per month, as well as influence how AI tools such as OpenAI's ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, and Google's Gemini characterize Israel and the war. So they're going to do this propaganda all over online to try to influence the younger generation, but they're also going directly to the AI companies and saying just cheat. Make sure that your AI does not tell the truth. Instead, remember, This is a literal foreign agent working for Israel, going to the AI companies and say, manipulate your programs to support Israeli propaganda. And he's not the only one. We showed you a video a couple of weeks ago of another radical Zionist saying on tape in a panel discussing about how they're gonna influence America and the world to help Israel, saying, oh yeah, we talk to the AI companies all the time to get them to change their coding to help us. So it's brazen, it's obvious, yet our reporters, other than Time Magazine, are like, no, it doesn't happen. What do you mean it doesn't happen? They're telling you it happens. Okay, so more. For all this, Israel agreed to pay Clock Tower X $1.5 million per month. Okay, it's a hefty price for 50 million views, but if you can manipulate all the AI programs, then maybe it's actually a very, very reasonable price. Well, we'll see if that worked or not. They say it remains unclear how much Parscale's outfits paid creators as part of the Israel campaign. Another recent influenceable campaign offered influencers base payment of $2,250 plus $1 for every 1,000 views, up to 2 million views, allowing influencers to earn as much as $4,250 per post, according to internal text messages reviewed by Time. So I'll pause here. There's a lot more facts about how they're trying to manipulate us. But Adam, you and I have had many debates against Israel First guys, neocons, etc., Piers Morgan, CNN, and other shows, right? And every time you bring up that Israel is paying influencers to do Israeli propaganda, they go, how dare you, outrageous. But here it is, there's absolutely no question they're paying them, right? You guys know I hate scams, especially the ones that target seniors. And Medicare, chock full of them. You've got commission-hungry brokers steering people toward whatever pays the broker the most, not what's best for you. Unfortunately, that's the whole game for so many of them. So here's who I actually trust. A company called Chapter. We did our homework on them. They're independent Medicare advisors, the only ones that compare every plan nationwide. The best plan for you is out there, and Chapter will help you find it. Folks who switched with Chapter last year saved an average of $1,100. Chapter's advisors are honest. They're not paid to just steer you to certain plans. They work for you, not big insurance. A guy on our team had his dad call. Turned out he was already on the right plan, and they just told him so. So they're not looking to push anything. Their entire focus is on finding what's right for you. It's free, it's under 20 minutes. So skip the scams and call Chapter today. Call 805-201-2275 for Medicare help you can trust. That's 805-201-2275.
There's no question. Let me give like a Gen Z framework of this because I've been seeing a lot of this lately. The other day, an influencer named Clavicular took an Israel trip. Now, I don't know the details about payments or anything, but he took an Israel trip and live streamed throughout all of Israel. It feels like they are increasingly desperate, the Israeli government, to try to change the PR surrounding Israel. We also have the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's company, who hired this young Gen Z guy named Matt Nuclear, and they put him on all these debate shows, and they tried to make him defend Israel, and they force him to take these unpopular positions. I mean, maybe he actually believes it, but he's clearly playing a bit right there. I also want to point out Brad Parscale and Clock Tower LLC, which you just talked about getting 1.5 million. They're a big part of Salem Media. Salem Media is another conservative organization that works with Scott Jennings. There is a lot of influence going on in our media, and it's because they are scared. They are scared of the sea change that is especially seen in younger generations, and it's because we're not beholden to corporate media. We're not beholden to listening to all of these corporate politicians. We have a decentralized way, like the Young Turks or like TikTok or these other platforms, to see what is actually happening on the ground. And this type of finger wagging against Gen Zers, saying that we're too radical, that we are going off to the side, we're going to extremes, it's not gonna work. What I find radical is living in a system where we're forced to accumulate hundreds of thousands of dollars in student debt and medical debt while we're sending bombs overseas and sending money to Israel. The system is radical itself. I find it radical that many Gen Zers are one medical bill away from not being able to pay their rent. I find it radical that Gen Zers can't find jobs, and yet all of this reductive finger wagging comes from these right-wing neocon people who say, you're radical for liking Zoran Mamdani. You guys are far left communists for liking Zoran Mamdani and these politicians. If you want young people to be invested in this system or any system, allow them to have some sort of stake in the system. When the system is constantly crushing us down at our shoulders, of course, we're going to be taking positions like, hey, F the current institutions, F Israel, F these distortionary special interest groups that are currently reaching in and screwing us over. And as young people begin to realize this and wake up more and more, you see more resistance from the Israeli government or just from neocons who want to change the way that young people think. And it's not going to work. Our lived experiences right now are of that in an institution that isn't really working for anybody. I'm just giving my, youth Gen Z framework here. And Gen Zers aren't so impressionable that some ad from like Scott Jennings or some right-wing from Ben Gvir is going to change our mind. It's not going to work.
Yeah. To your point, a couple of points. Number one, you know what's radical? Genocide. Genocide is about as radical as it gets. And our media tells us, no, that's perfectly normal. But you complaining about it is radical. Okay, and Salem Media Network, you know who their chief strategy officer is? Brad Parscale. So the same guy being given millions of dollars to do propaganda for Israel. Now, Salem says, no, legally you're not allowed to have this propaganda go on radio. It's just our chief strategy officer, and everyone who works at Salem is massively pro-Israel. Coincidentally, even though they're all getting paid tons and tons of money from Salem, and Parscale, their chief strategy officer, is getting tons and tons of money from Israel. So no, this is super obvious. They're literally buying our media to try to manipulate us. In fact, now let's go to the next part of it. Publicly, the campaign was framed as an effort to combat rising anti-Semitism online. An Israeli foreign ministry official familiar with the arrangement says there was another strategic aim preventing young conservatives from turning against Israel. So thank you for the confession. It had nothing to do with combating anti-Semitism. Obviously, it's the Israeli government saying that America should be pro-Israel. It has nothing to do with anti-Semitism, everything to do with trying to contain the damage that they've done with the genocide and all the wars and all the manipulation and all of the bribing of our Congress people. So through private group chats, Time explains, 3 people familiar with the campaign say conservative influencers receive suggested language for posts on social media sites such as X, Instagram, and TikTok. They were then compensated based on the impressions and engagement their content generated. So unquestionable. So if you're seeing someone there going, oh, I love Israel, it's not a genocide, murdering 23,000 kids is totally okay. And the Palestinians had it coming, it's all the Muslims' fault, and you should hate them and you should be bigoted against Muslims. That was probably paid for by the Israeli government, so that you'll hate Muslims, you'll hate other people, and you'll finance their wars. And now we have overwhelming proof. Now, to Adam's point, yes, but they think, oh, well, in the old days, we would just, buy up the mainstream media companies and they would do our propaganda for us, and that would work brilliantly. So we assume the Gen Z will be the same. We'll just be able to brainwash them. Well, did they? Did it work? Well, let's find out. An anonymous Israeli official with knowledge of this psyop said, quote, we are pissed at Brad Parscale. He was supposed to make things better. We paid him lots of money, but what did he do with it? Things have only gotten worse. Yeah, brother, look, to be fair to Brad Parscale, that's probably the only time I'll ever begin a sentence that way. What do you want him to do? You pushed us into another war. That war is going disastrously. And you're like, well, I don't care. I demand that you merge our militaries. I demand you work for Israel and go die for Israel. And you think that schmuck who never had anything to do with anything in the first place is going to single-handedly be able to move the entire Gen Z and brainwash them? No. This isn't like the old days when you had complete control over corporate media. Okay, now the walls are breached and we know exactly what's going on. So then let's go to an anonymous US intelligence official, because there's deep concerns here, obviously. We're talking about American influencers who are being paid by a foreign country, then trying to build momentum to change the president's views or the views of others around him. It can't be dismissed as inconsequential by any means. And now that's a Trump official, and the Trump officials are pissed because they're like, wait, we've been kissing Israel's ass this entire time. We've done everything they've demanded of us. Now they're doing propaganda saying we need to go back into the war. So they're doing propaganda against Trump. They're like, no, we loved it when you were doing propaganda for Trump, but now that it's against Trump, no, we don't like it. Oh, really? It's almost like they didn't give a damn about you or any American. They only cared about themselves. Of course. We have to explain these simple things to people in Washington with their tiny little heads, and they can't understand. They claim they can't understand simple concepts. And did Parscale have all this influence with Trump in the first place? Well, Parscale hasn't spoken to the president in more than 5 years, according to sources familiar with the matter. And now, one last clip for you guys, and we'll bring Adam back in for his thoughts. JD Vance was on Rogan today, and he also talked about this effort to influence the president by Israel. Let's watch.
There was a Time story that came out yesterday that basically there are certain influencers in America who are being paid in order to attack the deal. People are always going to try to influence the United States of America, whether they're allies of ours or whether they're enemies of ours. But again, when I open up the pages of Time magazine and I see that there's a literal foreign influence campaign being funded to tank the very deal that I was pursuing, and oh, by the way, many of the people who were receiving that money were actually attacking me in completely dishonest ways, my response to that is, well, go to hell. I'm gonna do what I have to do for the American people. I represent Americans first, and that's the way that I've tried to do this job.
Adam, two things there. First, he's saying go to hell and I'm not gonna listen to Israel. But isn't it gonna be awkward when we go back into the Iran war and do exactly as Israel ordered us? Then what's JD Vance gonna say?
Yeah, I guarantee you if that propaganda were in JD Vance's favor, he would just be completely blind to it and not mention it at all. Also, there's a lot of egg on JD Vance's face right now. As much as he tries to distance himself from this pro-Israel campaign in this war, he is the one who has been sent to both Geneva, Switzerland, and he got sent to Islamabad, Pakistan, and came out with absolutely nothing. In fact, he came out with a worse position than we came into it with. So he's definitely got a lot of egg on his face. When it comes to this influence campaign, first of all, I wouldn't put it past Israel to launch an overly aggressive campaign that backfires on them, whether it's online or with Iran. Number two, this is just direct paid-to-play foreign influence on US pundits, influencers, probably politicians as well. The type of distortion that Israel and AIPAC are able to achieve in our politics is absurd. And for all the time that we spend calling out Russia for influencing our elections, which I think we should be calling out these countries. A lot of our politicians seem uniquely blind to the Israel lobby trying to constantly influence our politics. And I think you said it very well. It used to be corporate media that would distort the minds of people. Now they're trying to use TikTok as a channel to do that, Twitter as a channel to do that, and it's not working. They're being exposed for it. Young people are waking up, and we're not going to start supporting a country that is literally enacting settlements in the West Bank and a genocide in Gaza. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and to give you guys a sense of scale here, finally, Israel has a $700 million propaganda budget. That is a lot of money directly meant to influence, manipulate Americans into supporting Israel rather than our own country. Next year, they say their budget is going to go up to $900 million. And to be fair to them, since they've gotten over $320 billion from us, let alone the $8 trillion in wars against their enemies and neighbors, it's money well spent in the past. It's just they're frustrated now that it's not working as well. And I love the younger generation in online media that has stopped their propaganda from working and now wasting a lot of their money. But remember, guys, this whole, whether it's paying influencers $4,000 a pop or spending $700 million on propaganda, pales in comparison to traditional media and why they were so effective with their propaganda for almost my entire life, because massive and radical Zionists like Rupert Murdoch and Larry Ellison own corporate media. Rupert Murdoch owns Wall Street Journal, New York Post, Fox News, and so many other media outlets in the West. Larry Ellison has now bought CNN, CBS, TikTok, And so those are all billions and billions of dollars in investments, and all of that aimed to make sure you don't find out that Israel and America don't have the same interest. Israel has completely different interests, and they want to trick you into supporting their interests and take your money. Let's be honest. They've taken hundreds of billions from us. If you include the war, trillions from us, and they would like to keep that gravy train going. And it's our job to stop it, not because we don't like Israel, that's a different topic. But in this case, on behalf of American sovereignty, so that we actually represent our own voters. And if you care about democracy, you wouldn't just be worried about Trump or Biden. You'd be worried about a different country trying to buy off our politicians and our media to take our sovereignty and our democracy away from us. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.